first topic is what fighting game series can you look at and you can say like, all right, this series is officially dead. It ain't coming back. There's a lot of series that we see that that have been in the past that we'll look at and we're kind of like, yeah, there might be still some hope. We had some like hints recently from publishers from I think it was Capcom or I can't remember if it was Capcom or SNK, but they were saying they're still willing to do Capcom versus SNK. So hope is alive with that. But there's some other series that we might see or that we might know that we're like, yeah, I think that's over with. So starting with you, Mr. Gaming Live, what series could you say that for?
um, I honestly, my first thought that I had for this was Dead or Alive, and the reason why I say Dead or Alive is because of the fact that six came out. Six came out and just it's almost as if it just disappeared at the same night it released. Um, it was, I mean, it had some hype for a bit when it was out, but it's just like Dead or Alive is kind of at that point where it's like it's a 3D fighter that it's always in the shadows. It's never really in the limelight because you got Soul Calibur and Tekken. It's just never like I think even five lasted longer than six did. So I feel like it's like the last one. I mean, you still have the dedicated fans to it, but I don't know, man. I don't want to say it's just done, but it could possibly be in a spot where it's just like, man, maybe they're thinking like, okay, this game really didn't do that well. We have our dedicated people that like the game, but do we feel like we need to make more of these? Um, and that's honest. That was the first thing that came to my mind. I wanted to say Tekken Cross Street Fighter, but that I mean that's technically wasn't even made just yet. And then pretty much now Tekken Cross Street Fighter is pretty much Tekken 7. I think it's fair to say at this point because you pretty much got Street Fighter like characters. Well, you got a Street Fighter character, then like 2D characters in that game. So I feel like at this point, Tekken 7 was pretty much the manifestation of Street Fighter Cross Tekken. I mean, Tekken Cross Street Fighter, excuse me, because we were supposed to see both of those. It's like Street Fighter Cross Tekken, then we're gonna see how the 3D Tekken, and then they had the Street Fighter characters come in. So I think they just pretty much did that with Tekken 7. But yeah, I think Dead or Alive might be a game that possibly could just be like you might see it again and you might not.
I think, like, for me, I would say the game that immediately comes to mind for me, right off the bat, is Rival Schools. I don't think we're gonna get another Rival Schools game like on its own. I mean, even like, because I mean, we have like a character. I think one of the characters, I think Akira from Rival Schools, I think is coming to Street Fighter Five. But I don't know if we're ever going to get an actual like dedicated Rival Schools game again. And even if that does, I just I don't know if there are enough people that are going to remember that game to even warrant another sequel. There are so many other games that they have right now that are established franchises that are already doing pretty good on their own. But like I mean, I don't know, man. Like for instance, like you got I mean, I feel like Vampire Savior, aka Darkstalkers, is more likely to come back than like a game like Rival Schools, because it's like Rival Schools always to me seemed like that kind of really like niche like kind of a fringe game that nobody really talks about Rival Schools, like, except in passing. Like, I mean, I hear people talk about Darkstalkers all the time. I remember a couple years ago they re-released one of the Darkstalkers games on I think it was an Xbox 360 and like PlayStation 3, and Capcom kind of hinted at it. It's like, well, maybe if you buy this game, we might consider, how they like to do, where they like to hold their games hostage and stuff, which is a horrible practice, by the way. And I mean, I would appreciate even having Rival Schools held hostage, so at least I know that there's some people within the company that are kind of like, hey man, we might bring this back. But I mean, how long has it been, man? It's been so long since I've even heard anybody even talk about Rival Schools, except for in the case when Akira is coming out in Street Fighter V. So I'm just I just don't think that it's going to happen. I don't really think that that's another game that's going to be coming out any if it does come out, I just don't see it coming anytime soon. But in my mind, that series is pretty much done for, man. I don't expect to see that game at all ever again.
For my answer, when this game came out, hearing the title of it, it was just like, oh, okay, so that sounds like it's automatically gonna be cool. Like, how can that fail? I mean, it's got to be, as the old folks say, the bee's knees. Like, it has to be the truth. So, and then it won fighting game of the year. GameStop gave it a 4.1 out of 5, you know, and all that stuff. So I mean, it has like the critical acclaim and stuff like that. But when we were playing it, it was more so like, you know, it was like, I don't know what it is about this, because you know we weren't like the, you know, fighting game savants and knowing all that stuff back then. When we were playing, it was just like this game seems more of like a joke than it is just like something to be taken serious. And then next thing you know, the YouTube videos for this game came out, and you know, it just made it even seem more of like a game you look back on just to laugh at more than anything. But the game I'm referring to is Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe.
Oh man.
Um, that game, like, even though it got all the critical acclaim playing it, it was just like, were they serious? Like, is it serious? Like, like, how do you get us a 4.1 out of 5? You know, and like I said, with the YouTube videos, when those were coming out, like going back and looking at the fatalities and stuff like that, like literally looking at everybody's fatality in the game was like literally like, hey, gather all your friends around and let's just laugh at how trash this game is. You know, and I think me and Devin and them, we was doing that in college, you know, when the game was out. So, you know, I mean, concept of it was supposed to be amazing. I mean, we got Mortal Kombat and DC Universe. I mean, not like the first crossover that pop in your mind, but you like, now that we got it, I mean, hey, it's gonna be lit. Like, you know, Scorpion versus, you know, Batman. I mean, who didn't think that'd be a cool fight? But you know, when we got the game, it was just like, that's funny. You know, on to the next. So, and you know, I think they really see that, as much as they got the acclaim, as much as they got the awards, you know, they really saw that game as just like, overall our fan base saw it as kind of like a, I want to say a failure, but it wasn't what supposed, it didn't do what it was supposed to do or what it should have done. And you know, I just don't see them ever bringing that back, because now when you look back on the game, the first thing that comes to my mind is just watching funny YouTube videos rather than just playing it. So that would be my answer. MK versus DC Universe. Anybody else have anything to add?